I have sent her a request, and there she is. Kavita, I was a bit worried for a second, only a second, that you may have forgotten, but then I know you're very disciplined and sorted. So, am I audible? Am I visible? Is everything good to go this time?
Absolutely. You can hear me?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Perfectly. So, of course, Kavita has been on the show before. She's a nutritionist and she's an author of multiple books, completely envious of that discipline and routine that she has. And I'm hoping one of these days it rubs onto me. Hasn't so far, Kavita. Disha is what I call the new age philosopher when it comes to food. And Disha is a functional nutritional coach. She's also a counselor and some amazing stuff she's doing out there. And I want to understand the two of you. My sense, though, is I'm not playing one of you against the other, but my sense here is that Kavita is a little bit more conservative, likes to go back to the roots as often as she can. And from what I've seen of Disha, it's a little bit of the new age formulas that come into play. Nothing wrong with either of them. But my existential question, and Disha, you can start. How do we begin to sift the kind of information that is out there on what is good eating?
There's a lot of information there, and what functional medicine does is it is in a bit going back to your roots, like a lot of stuff that I do with the herbs. If you look back, probiotics, kefir is from I don't know how many billion years ago. Kanji is from way back.
Right.
Kimchi, Korea's, So it is generally bringing things that are forgotten, but also as they discover newer things or they discover certain treatments that come out which are more holistic in regards to your well-being. So but there's a whole lot of stuff out there. Sometimes I get asked very strange questions and I do think that why don't you just look up Google? Why did you message me for this? But then I realize I know if I have the same question, I know what to believe on the net. But if you type that same question, there'll be 100, you won't know what is right, what is wrong. So the thing is I believe, listen to your own body. If you feel like something is not suiting you, it probably isn't. Having said that, there are a number of, like, I follow a lot of functional medicine practitioners, and some chiropractors and lymphatic drainage specialists. So I just find them here and there, and with the ones I connect to, and in the courses I've done as well, I a lot of them say things that, when you've been studying it for about 5 to 7 years, you then know what makes sense and what doesn't after a point. But bio individuality is very, very important. I could have my gluten intolerance could be because of a different reason than yours. The reason that I have acidity could be due to low stomach acid. Yours could be due to parasites. So there's a whole thing where you have to go through a person's history to get to why they are where they're at, and not just give them. If you've come to me for a headache, I'll give you a medicine and you'll be fine. Because where is that headache originating from? So there's lots of stuff out there. There are lots of good books that are out there, and there are lots of different doctors that write blogs and stuff. Like there's Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Josh Axe, and stuff like that. And even the course that I've studied with Andrea Nakayama, she's done. She puts out a lot of articles, so it's all there. It's just going through the whole Google.
Yeah, but that's why Google, that's our default mechanism, isn't it, Kavita? So in that Google sphere, there is just so much of information out there. Should we follow the keto diet? Should we follow this diet? Should we follow that fat? Should we just not follow any fat? Should we eat brown rice? Should we eat one day I'm eating white rice, one day I'm eating brown rice? I'll be really honest. How do I know? How do I figure out stability?
Yeah, so I agree with Disha absolutely that, the point that she made about information being the key. You cannot survive without information today. Only problem is, as you say, there's an onslaught of information, In fact, it gets a bit too much for me as well as a professional to just keep up to the kind of information that is changing every second day. Like you said, one food is good today. It could be a villain the very next week. So the point is, I always tell everyone, and I write, you've read my book, Jyotsna, I write in every single book, please follow common sense. You cannot let common sense not be there when you're reading something. Your gut and your instinct will tell you to an extent whether it is right or wrong. And then too, because this is not your field, so there is absolutely no harm in checking with a professional. You know, like her, like Disha reads and follows so many people, I also, to keep up, do a lot of reading. And because I write, I have to research a lot. And that is the only way to stay up to mark on the right trends and the right information in food and nutrition. So if you feel that you do not know, a layperson, if a layperson doesn't really know or is not sure about something in particular, absolutely reach out to a professional or an expert. That's what they are there for. They can help chaff the wrong information from the right. And once you do it a couple of times with the expert, you will get the knack of it. That's one part of it. The second part of it is, even if an expert is telling you something or a particular doctor is writing about something, again, I'll agree with Disha here. How does it work on your body? You have to, like I always tell everyone, you are your best dietitian. No one can, even I can't get into your system as much as you can get into your own system and understand it. So you have to try it out on yourself. You have to figure out whether a particular thing is working for you or not, whether it is sustainable for you or not. Is it okay for your lifestyle, for your upbringing, the way you look at food? Does it fit? You can only fit in something absolutely new to your life and body to a certain extent. If I ask someone who's grown up on, say, rice to completely switch to quinoa, it's not going to work. The person, I'm just giving you one example, the person will probably do it for a week or 2 weeks, and then very difficult. 1% out of 10 might really just switch to it, but the rest 9 will just fall back on rice. So a better way would be to figure out what works. Maybe amaranth works for them, because it's a local grain and maybe more likely to work for their taste. Taste is one, but the body is another. Every body handles foods in a very, very different way. And when you eat a food, if you mindfully eat it, Jyotsna, the food is going to tell you whether it's working for you or not. It's as simple as that. Problem is, the mindfulness has completely gone out of the way we look at food, eat food. And this, I feel, is the biggest problem today, even more than the way we are picking up foods. We are picking up wrong foods, there is no doubt about that. But the way we are eating foods, not even looking at them, I feel is creating a bigger problem in the longer run.
So I like that what you said, the mindfulness of eating has completely gone out. And it's also, Disha, become very instant. You want instant rewards, you want instant results. And that kind of, what I would say, pseudo wellness, is that really, how do you tackle that with clients?
Basically, you have to tell them when they come, they want a quick fix. Everyone wants a quick fix. I want to lose weight. I have acidity. I have this. Can you tell me on the phone what to do? I'm like, no, I can't. I mean, I can give you a band-aid. It might work. It might not. I can give you this herbal thing I make for gas or for anything. And it might work. It might not. But I am not hitting what that's causing it till I go through your history or I figure out what is wrong with you. Yes, one of the first few things, like Kavita said, chew your food, eat mindfully. I used to eat so fast without realizing, and even now, sometimes if you're headed somewhere, I'll gulp a smoothie. And that same smoothie, which was fine with me yesterday, suddenly I'm like, oh God, I'm not feeling too good. And not many people are very in tune with their gut. Me, because I'm in this profession and also since childhood, I've been very in tune. I know in a second if I'm not, something hasn't suited me. And that's where you should try and reach, so that at some point, you're your guide yourself. And you can, like, when they come, my thing is, okay, tell me how it is. Let's take it, because you need a lot of hand holding. I'm always available. Here's what I'm telling you to do. Here are the recipes. Here's why I'm telling you to do it. And a lot of people will be like, but I can't leave this. I can't do this. I'm like, let's take 1 week at a time. Let's see if it makes you feel better. And then we'll see from there. And obviously, you always have to give them the reason why you're doing something. You can't, like most, when you go to a doctor, he doesn't have the time to do that. He'll write three medicines and say blah, 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 and give it to you, you know? And you're just supposed to understand because he's a professional. Here, I try and explain to them that this is why I'm giving you what I'm giving you. And it could be, like she said, quinoa, local does matter. Of course, local matters. But also, sometimes people will be very rigid in what they eat. You have to have variety. You have to have colors in your diet. You have to have enough protein. Whether you're a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian, there are enough sources of protein. You have to be a little mindful in even what you eat every day, and you can set that up at the beginning of your week. Like, okay, this is what I want to have through the week. And there are a lot of deficiencies, especially with minerals that come up, and which none of us realize. Like with drainage, detox is a very, very common word, but most people don't realize is what detox actually signifies is your lymphatic system, and half the time that's blocked for many people. So, there are lots of things that even the person I learned this from, he might be new age, but he's come to, his name is Dr. Perry Nicholson. He's come to India. He's learned. He's like, I've learned from Eastern medicine, Western medicine. I was a chiropractor. He gave his own story, and he's like, now I'm here, but I'm giving you a protocol that I've put everything together and made. So it was pretty marvelous. I mean, and even these guys are very available. But I have a question. I just message him on Instagram and I get a reply before 24 hours. So,
Kavita, I get what Divsha's saying, and also, as a phrase, two words that stood out for me from your book, the Don't Diet book, food paranoia. I want you to elaborate that.
I put that as a first chapter deliberately, because this is something, and I'm sure everyone notices, every practitioner sees that. Disha also must be seeing that. We all see it around us. You also must be seeing that. Yeah. So the point is that what has happened over the last, I don't know, over how much time, maybe 2 decades only, food has ceased to be a friend. It has become more of an enemy. Everyone, when we look at food, we are scared of the food. We are trying to figure out what harm can it do to us. The point is, we have to just completely go back to earlier times when food was only considered as nourishment. You cannot badmouth foods. You cannot, which is why I do not like the word or this phrase that people use that we need to ban these foods. You don't need to ban any food, because no food, if it is food, real food, will be bad for you. Be it potato, be it banana, it will not be bad for you. So this whole banning has led us to this stage today. Some days eggs are bad, and then, the yolks are back in action. So this whole, it has played with the psyche of people, and people like today are very confused. There is different, you Google a particular food and 5 websites will tell you you must have it, and the rest 5 will tell you no, it's, poison for you. So everybody gets very confused, and which is why they get scared of food. And I feel that when you start, forget about losing weight. When you start, the very first step that you must take when you're trying to set your body back in order, make it healthier. Weight loss will be a byproduct of that in any case. The first thing that you need to do is you need to look at food and remove all negative connotations from it. Every food. Every single food. I'm saying, not saying a particular food or be like the superfoods are good, and I do not like these distinctions. Every food is good for us, which is why I wrote that other book, the one before this, Fix It With Food, which has everyday foods, the ones that we get at our sabzi wala. So what I've done there is to demystify each food and tell everyone that this is what even your humble bottle gourd does for you, the lauki. This is what your aloo also does for you. No food is bad for you. So look at food as your friend. The first thing you need to do is completely remove any fear that you have from food. Because once you set this relationship right, the food and you relationship, then only you will be able to take the next step. Till you do this, it will only be, like she said, a band-aid. You'll probably lose a couple of kilos, by doing a particular diet or certain kind of intervention in your diet. But you'll be back to square one. or probably a few steps behind. You'll probably gain more weight and be more unhealthy, which is why I put that as the very first chapter, because that I feel is the very basis of our relationship with food. You have to love food. There is no, don't overlove it, but you have to love food.
So where are we going wrong, Disha?
Where are we? In a number of ways, I don't think people are honest to themselves about. First, people have no clue. They might be constipated, they might be bloated. And a lot of things where they are not aware. They think they're eating right, they're not. They think they eat certain amounts, they're not. And what happens with the majority who have no issues, um, balanced diet works. But when food sensitivities come into play, the thing is not to get scared of them. The thing is to deal with them so that you can add them back. Now, it happened to me suddenly sensitive to eggs. I didn't need a test to tell me. I felt it because I love eggs and I eat them every single day. So, what am I going to do? Am I going to cry? Or I did want to cry, but no, I didn't. I'm just taking it out for a bit. I'm eating something else. I'm making sure that my day has wholesome food. And another thing which she's very right is, which I told my sister who has a lot of chronic issues, is that cannot make a face when you see the food. My sister has no time to eat. So her meals are, always the same. So when I was there last year, I'm like, you will not make a face at the food. It's not going to go down properly. So she's like, what do you want me to do? I said, I'll cook for you for 1 month. And when I cooked, she actually because I made an effort to, and the first time I really cooked. But there's a lot you can do. And slowly, slowly. Now, some people might suddenly react to a little bit of gluten. Some reacts forever. Some people do have, it's also very complicated. You can't rely on these tests. So you have to work, you have to say, okay, it's a work in progress. I'm dealing it with the best way I can. I love how I am. And I know a lot of people, it's very difficult because I have friends and I've been through that where I'm scared to touch food because I don't know what it's going to do next at that point. So at that point, you just take a step back. Okay, let me start from a few days of giving my stomach a break where I eat very light and slowly, slowly climb back on. And if there's anything more, that's when you come to a professional and we go through, okay, what is bothering you? What is happening? Why is this happening? And yeah, there are lots of tests, which like even nowadays, it's the IgG test is very popular, but they have their own shortcomings. It will not tell you whether it's for a raw or an uncooked food. Also, the protein sequence in, say, gluten matches. They go for the amino acid sequence. So there's a certain amino acid sequence in gluten that might say your body is attacking it. That sequence is the same as in casein in dairy. So you might have it to that also. But that's why they say, so there's never any, it's not a sure shot. You need to, fine, you can do those tests to give you a guide, but then start slow, and you're going to make, nobody doesn't make mistakes. You're going to go out, you're going to, you're going to cheat, but it's an everyday thing, especially if you have a compromised gut. And the best way is to learn. Like, that's what happens when people come to me. I try to tell them as much as they can, and a lot of them say, can you recommend what I can read? And I do give the ones that give a lot of knowledge, but they're easy to get into. So they also, if they are more in tune to their health, they get interested. The ones who want to keep, you know, the lot of people who will want to lie to themselves and say, but I'm not doing this, but I'm not doing that, but they'll go out and eat street food, or, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. So it's you have to be in tune with your body. You have to want that change. And I'm not saying that change means sleeping at 8 at night, waking up, working out, eating Loki and Tori. But if you have to do it for, say, 5, 6 days to jump back on, it's not a big deal. You know?
So here's my thing, Kavita, taking off from what Disha said. Uh, a lot of people just do it for those 5 days, 6 days, and get that change, or maybe do it for a month. But so it's a two-point question. How do you sustain it, right? I mean, you can get there, but I think the bigger battle is to sustain it. And secondly, when we're talking about diet, there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to actually losing weight. I mean, a lot of people say, oh gosh, we just need to go hit the gym. A lot of people say we need to only diet. I want to know, what is the right balance?
So the first thing I want to say, Jyotsna, here is, which is something I tell everyone at every opportunity possible, DIET is not a 4-letter word. Diet is actually what you eat. Why have we made this into a hoa? That, I have to go on a diet. Diet doesn't mean removing food from your diet. Food, what you're eating. Diet actually means what you're eating. Simple. So you need to overhaul what you're eating. Once you have this attitude in place, you will not go wrong. That's one. Second, I personally do not believe, unless of course it's a special case, there are food sensitivities or there are health issues which need to be, kept in mind. But if you're talking about a normal person who doesn't really have major health issues but wants to maybe get fitter and lose some weight in the bargain, then I do not believe in removing foods from their diet. Literally. What I do is I add foods. My only principle that I work broadly on with most people, and it works, is follow moderation. Never ever do I say you can never eat this. I have seen that doesn't work. That's the easiest way to make sure that is the only food that person is thinking about all the time, and then it won't be sustainable, the diet. How I believe in doing it, for example, if there is somebody who has this huge craving for meeta, and that's the bane of that person, he or she eats a little meeta after every meal, has a big Sunday, has to have something by about 4 o'clock because the sugar is dropping or whatever, it's a habit. Then instead of saying, no, you just cannot eat any meeta, what I'm going to do is add on foods that can give naturally the body some sugar at regular intervals of the day. It won't happen in 2 days, but if they practice it for even a week, the body will get used to this new form of sugar. For example, if I add in, usually I've seen that most people who get cravings for too much meeta do not usually eat fruits at all. In fact, that's almost 80% of people who come to me do not eat fruits at all. I don't know about you, what you see, Disha. But most people do not eat enough fruits these days, I feel. The moment I add, and that is something I mandate. When I add something, I mandate that you have to have a fruit at 11 maybe, or a fruit at 4, whatever works for their lifestyle. Within a week, I see, and they see, their cravings come down naturally, So adding foods, good foods, I feel is a better way of going about making a diet that is sustainable. Add enough nutrition so that there's only so much you can eat, right, in the day. So if you're eating more of the good food, the bad food will automatically get cut to size. It won't get removed. I don't want it removed. I don't want anything removed from the diet completely. But the bad food will get cut to size automatically. And that is the only way. It's a slow and steady process. So when someone tells me how much weight will I lose in 1 month, I'm like, I'm not the person for you. I do not know how your body will react or what state of health your body is in, I believe, but what I can promise you is whatever you lose with me in about 3 months or something will not come back, because I'm going to work on your habits, because that's the only way to make a diet that's sustainable. Pick up habits and start attacking them one by one without making them seem like a punishment. I personally feel that's the way to make the diet successful, sustainable. And like I said right in the beginning, diet is what you eat. It's not just, in fact, in my very first book, I wrote that go to the highest window you can find and mentally just throw the word diet out of the window and let it fall down somewhere and let it go somewhere else, and then think of the food that you eat.
So Disha, fads like intermittent fasting and stuff, do they work?
I've seen it work with a lot of people. I do believe in intermittent fasting. It's also because we live in a culture where everything is about food. You go out to meet people, it's either eating or eating. You get up, breakfast, khao. You go, especially in Punjab land, it's like khate pite ghar ke. Everything is about, today I heard a friend telling me, we have these relatives. If you go to their house, they will stuff food down your throat. I'm like, how can they stuff it? I'll say no. She's like, you have no idea. So, in a culture like that, to just give your stomach a break. I feel better when I do it. Again, if you have low blood sugar, if you have certain issues, that's a problem. But I have seen a lot of people just give it's a question of discipline. I think intermittent fasting is more a question of discipline, where you bring in that anyway they say 3 hours before bedtime, don't eat, don't stuff your face and go to bed. So that, that 2 or 2 hours, just saying eat early. It's all tied together. So you're eating early, then those whatever few hours of getting up, and sure, everyone says have breakfast, but I have
Yeah.
seen not jumping up and gobbling down food works better for me, at least for my body. And I've seen a lot of people who swear by it, who says they've changed certain illnesses they've had that have helped them. Again, not everything is for everybody. I sell probiotics, I do kimchi and all of that, but that's not for everybody. If someone has a histamine intolerance, they can't have it, you know, and so everything is not for everybody.
But so,
But
what is the final word? I mean, intermittent fasting, skip breakfast, or breakfast is the main meal of the day? I'm very
no,
confused.
had a little later. Breakfast, according to me, breakfast can be had a little later. That works much better for me. It doesn't mean I don't believe. And what is your breakfast? Is it a parantha? Is it going to be a proper with like some fruit, some protein, some good quality fat? What are you eating for breakfast? You know what I mean? That's going to fuel you through the rest of the day. I mean, you can. "Oh, I have to have my breakfast. Then you're eating makhan wale paranthe, and it's yeah, so yes, I do believe in intermittent fasting. I do believe, but it depends on the person. And you don't have to do it every day. You can do it twice a week. It's just to give your system a break from everything that's thrown at it. And I'm one of those people, if I go I don't feel that hungry in my own house. If I go somewhere else, I'm like, what do you have to eat? You know? So it's just,
Okay, so yeah, okay, so let's say eggs and a bread for breakfast. My sister is asking, does that work? Kavita, let me ask you, breakfast, yes or no?
Absolutely. See, breakfast must have some protein in it. It has to be a balanced meal. Apple and a cold coffee is not breakfast. One toast is not breakfast. Like Disha said, breakfast is not just one paratha and makhan. What are you having? You're just having a cereal and some fat. That too not good fat. So that is not what breakfast should be. Is a very important meal because you can cover a lot of nutrients that you need for your body in that one meal in the day, which is, I feel, in the control of most people, which is why I find breakfast very important, because that's one meal that everyone, almost everyone, whether they're working or whatever kind of lifestyle they're leading, they can control that. So if you can ensure that you can get some very good complete protein there, some good carbohydrate there, whole foods there, and some good fat there. Of course, fiber has to be there, whether you do it with breakfast or as a mid meal a little later. The fruit can help with that. So I think eggs work beautifully.
Okay, I'm going to ask off the top of my head, and I want you guys to say yes or no, literally like that. Kavita, gluten-free or not?
No, there is no yes or no. Only if you're intolerant, then gluten free.
No, it's a fad. So I'm talking in terms of, everybody's just moving to
No,
remove
if you're
gluten
doing
from
it
their.
just because it is a done thing to do, no, absolutely not. Cut it to
Disha,
size is what I tell everyone. Cut it to size. We have too much gluten. Everyone has too much gluten. It's like wheat roti for breakfast, wheat roti for lunch, wheat roti for dinner. That's way too much. If that much gluten you have having, definitely cut it to size. But don't just give it up completely just for the heck of it.
Disha, dairy, yes or no? Sorry, what did you say? I lost you.
I said, which one of see the
Dairy,
gluten
dairy.
same. If you have a problem with it, then then after that it depends what kind of a problem you have with it. Is I know my sister again, her joints stopped hurting after she gave up gluten. In that situation, yes, give up gluten. I don't tell everyone give up. My first recommendation isn't. But when you come in with a problem that needs healing, I say, okay, let's start with dairy and gluten and see if that makes a difference or not. It's a question of 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Because you'll feel it. I'm not saying gluten takes 3 months to leave your system. I'm not saying in that 5 days you're going to get cured and say, oh my God, and I'll start eating my food again. It'll give you an idea. of whether you want to continue, because you only feel as well as you know. I mean, if I've forever lived with, say, a hunched back and this pain in my neck, I don't know anything else. Tomorrow I go to a chiropractor and he fixes it, and I feel so lightheaded. I'm like, that's how I'm supposed to feel, you know? Like, it's even with someone told me, I had a lot of people tell me, oh, but if we give up gluten, our body doesn't get, then we'll get stopped being used to gluten. I'm like, you're talking rubbish, because it's like a cigarette. If I'm smoking every day, I'm not going to get that head rush. But if I leave it for 4 days and I pick up that cigarette again, of course my head's going to go round. Does it mean it was bad for me? It was not bad for me then and it's bad for me now? No, it was bad for me then, it's bad for me now. My body was getting used to not having it. Now, so that's why. That means that your body is reacting to it. There are people who don't react and they're very good with gluten. But it depends from person to person.
Kavita, is plant protein good? Also, the concept of plant meat is something that I don't understand.
Plant,
Concept.
Plant meat,
Oh,
the new kind of, yeah. Is that a
uh,
thing?
no, I am personally not that adventurous, but then I am not a vegetarian, so I'm not really a person to really justify its need. I personally don't think you need to eat that. There is enough there are enough other options in plant for good protein sources. Frankly, I'm personally not a fan of plant meat.
And protein, do you believe in protein powder,
No, I
plant
don't.
or otherwise?
Unless, yeah, no, unless there is an absolute requirement for it. I feel almost 80% of people can easily get enough protein through their diet. But if they can't, because of whatever reason, there are lots of indications wherein the supplement might be required. Then we can add a supplement to their diet. Otherwise, I personally feel we can easily manage with food.
Do you think plant protein works, Disha?
let me think about plant meat. Vegetarian meat is the worst thing you can eat. Made in a lab. I mean, and when people turn around and say, at least we're saving the environment, you're killing yourself, but you're saving the environment. Wow. Like, I have nothing to say to you. Protein powders I mean, if you're a non-vegetarian and you can get especially if you're a non-vegetarian, you can have your chicken, your egg, your meat, your fish. You don't need plant protein unless you're a hardcore athlete. With vegetarians, yes, you have to be slightly careful. You have to make sure you're having those combinations and all. But even as a vegetarian, you don't need to, because and there are a lot of protein powders, majority that you see have so much chemicals. People don't realize they never read the back. If you learn how to read the back of a label, you will put down half the things that you pick up.
Kavita, processed food,
Absolutely no. Yeah,
processed.
the
No,
whole
no.
chapter in the book.
I know. It's not even a non-starter. My question goes beyond. What do you do with children today? How do you? There's so much peer pressure on the kind of rubbish there is in the market, and I mean, it's not like we didn't eat rubbish, but it was very contained and very limited in our times. Let's be honest. There is just so much out there, and everybody's eating it. They're eating it in the school bus. They're eating it in schools. How do you control the children?
It's a big problem. It's a huge problem. When the child is a little older, logic works with this generation, I've seen. So whenever I've had a talk, and the person is willing to listen, most of them get convinced. But with younger children, I think parents have to be strict. There is no other way. You just cannot let them harm their body like that. You just have to put your foot down. I tell parents, baad mein dekhna logic when they grow up. Have a conversation with them when they grow up and can understand. Right now, do not let them eat crap. Please don't. I mean, that's the only way for the younger children. I'm very clear on that.
Yeah, but I mean, the reaction is, can we go beyond the healthy sometimes? At least I hear this in my house. Why does everything have to always be healthy? So,
you don't have to tell them to eat healthy. You just have to tell them that there are rules.
yeah.
Junk food, maybe once a week, or maybe not even that. If you're okay with it, we'll give you something else. With food, the only way to make sure that the body stay healthy is be militant about it. I have seen that that's the only way to do it with younger children. Once they're older and they're getting out of your hand, because then they can buy themselves and order themselves. Before that, you need to have that conversation with them. And I have seen that they are very logical. You give them the reasoning, they'll listen to you. Like Disha said, make them read the backs, the labels. Just give them a, I think some people should do it. Some practitioners should do this course of label reading for children and teenagers. I think it will be a big hit with parents.
No, I agree. Okay, before I round up, last questions with both of you. Disha, what is the one big challenge that you find with today's clients?
Discipline. There's too much, especially with the world the way it is right now. Everything's uncertain. Some people, whoever's getting a chance to travel is traveling. Some are getting COVID. Some are, the biggest thing required, which I face also, is discipline. You need a routine, you need a discipline, you need to get it, and you need to be patient. It's a natural thing. I'm not going to lose weight in that I want to in 3 days. I'm not going to, and sometimes, though I say, as a regular life, have those cheat days. I have them. But when you're healing initially, you need to, if something is really, really bad for you, or which we've seen is bad for you, you're saying you're reacting to it, give it a break. For even if 2-3 weeks is all I ask. I'm like, just take down a diary and write it down. Okay, today whatever, but just that healing period becomes an issue.
Kavita, what is the one no, the big no for your clients that you would tell them every time?
Uh, Stop looking at food from the calories lens.
So hard.
Calorie is such an overrated indicator. When you're eating a food, calorie is just one indicator out of maybe 15 things that food is doing for you. Just because a food is high calorie doesn't mean that you cannot eat it if it is maybe ticking 8 other good indicators. You know what I'm trying to say? It is very, very overrated, calories. It's a very, very incomplete science. Ask me. All the calories that you know of or read of and swear by are very vague figures. They are not fixed figures. If somebody is telling you an aloo is giving you this much calorie, it's an approximate figure, frankly. And then there is this concept of good calories and bad calories. All calories do not work in the same way in your body. It's a big science. Don't just go by the number, is what I would like to tell everyone. Stop looking at food from the calories point of view. Whenever you look at food, I mean, that's the training I do in the beginning with everyone. When you look at something, just look at what good is this food doing for you. Is that good enough? Every food does something good for you, literally. But is that good enough for you? If it is, go ahead and eat it. Just eat more of the good food and less of the bad food. That's the only rule actually you need, frankly, to get started on this journey of better health.
Very hard, very tough, Kavita. But and what are those calorie apps going to do then? They're going to be all out of business. The ones that where people sit and count their calories, everything.
Like I tell everyone, they are an indicator. They're not the only important thing to look at. The same way as your weight is an indicator. What the number which is flashing on the weighing scale is not you. There is so much more to you, right? So what the number is showing on the scale is just one part of your health. Similarly, calories is just one part of what the food is giving you. So use it as an indicator as long as you do not let that become the only important thing in your life to take decisions.
Ladies, we could carry on, but I think I've gone even beyond the 40-minute mark this time. And I know somebody has asked about the weightage of exercise and diet, but we've already covered that. And yeah, this weight loss, what percentage does one give to exercise and what to diet? I think if you just go through this again, the recording, you'll probably find the answer in that. Disha and Kavita, both of you, thank you for being very patient with this session and coming back on a Sunday evening and doing fantastic work.
Thank you.
And I'm always coming, I know, to one or the other asking for something, but when you have friends, this is what you take, right? You take the liberty of asking, and I know Kavita is always like, I'm like, oh gosh, should I put this water here? Should I drink this water? It's as simple as that. So, yeah, but thank you so much. I know I'll be back with the two of you again. It's always wonderful to speak about issues which I think people think are just so ordinary, but actually there's just so much that goes with it and goes behind the scenes to try and, make everybody aware of really taking the right step forward and to go beyond what you just see on the outside. So, ladies, my pleasure, and
Thank
connect with you soon. Thank you.
Always.
you. Bye.
Thank you. And thanks
Bye
everybody
bye.
else for watching. Bye, Kavita. Bye, Disha.
Bye,
Thanks,
Disha.
guys, for
Nice meeting
watching.
you.